All are welcome to our PSC Start Smart. Today we are going to discuss the questions from 62 to 91 from the exam paper set examination which was conducted in 2019 February. It's our fourth part. Once again all of you. The first question, the concept of heredity in the context of colonialism. Hello friends, all are welcome to PSC Start Smart. Today we are going to discuss the fourth part of the set exam paper which was conducted in 2019. Questions from 62 to 90. Let's begin. The first question, the concept of heredity in the context of colonialism was put forward by, that is, Homi K. Bhabha. Points to remember. Homi K. Bhabha is an Indian English scholar and a critical theorist. He is one of the most important figures in contemporary post-colonial studies and has developed a number of field neologisms and key concepts such as heredity, mimicry, difference, and ambivalence. Such terms describe the way in which colonized people have resisted the powers of colonizer according to Bhabha's theory. So, the next question. For Marx's and the Reading Capital are the early works of Louis Althusser. Points to remember. These works together of Althusser, which for Marx's, which was published in 1968, has become to be regarded as the text which led to the founding of structural Marxism, and these two works raised an attention of French intellectual and attracted a significant international readers. Semiotics, question 64. Semiotics has been defined as the life of sign within society by. Answer is Ferdinand de Saussure. Semiotics is the study of signs and sign using behavior. Some common examples: semiotic includes traffic signs, emojis, and emoticons used in electronic communication and logos. Next question. Sigmund Freud introduced the concept of Oedipus Complex in his work, The Interpretation of Dreams. Points to remember. Interpretation of Dream is an 1899 book. He is the founder of psychoanalysis, in which the author introduces the theory of unconscious with the respect of dream interpretation and discusses what would be later become the theory of Oedipus Complex. Next question. Who regarded at the mermaid trade as dictator over a young literary generation? Answer, Ben Jonson. Points to remember. The Mermaid Tavern was a tavern of Cheapside in London during Elizabethan era, a drinking club that met on the first Friday of every month that include some of the Elizabethan era's leading literary figures. Next question. Which is not an elegy? Answer, My Last Duchess. Okay. Elegy, we know that. Elegy is a poem that reflects upon death or loss. My Last Duchess is a poem by Robert Browning, frequently anthologized as an example of dramatic monologue. Who wrote Antonio and Cleopatra? Answer, William Shakespeare. Points to remember. Antonio and Cleopatra is a tragedy in 5-act play by Shakespeare, written in 1606 and 7 and published in his first folio in 1623. From an authorial draft in a more finished state than most of his working papers. Whose lines are these? Though we cannot make our sun stand still, yet we can make him run. Andrew Marvell. It's points to remember. It's the poem to his coy mistress, one of the most famous poems in the 17th century and probably the most famous poem of Andrew Marvell ever wrote. We can also call the poem as a court dive poem. Next question. Arrange the play of Shakespeare's chronologically. Answer option B. The Merchant of Venice in the year 1596-1599. Next is Hamlet, second one Hamlet 1599-1601. Third Macbeth 1606. The Winter Tales 1623. Who mentioned Shakespeare as an upstart crow in his own conceit that only shakes scenes in a country? That is Robert Greene. Answer. Points to remember. The pamphlet was called The Grossworth of Wit, in which Robert Greene attacks the actor William Shakespeare as an upstart crow. He accused the budding playwright as plagiarist. The usual protagonist of morality play represent Everyman. Everyman, an English morality play of the 15th century, probably a version of Dutch play El Kerlik. It achieves a beautiful, simple solemnity in treating allegorically the theme of death and the fate of every man's soul, as he tries to justify his time on earth. Moving to the next question. Dash is an excellent and amusing stage piece of George Bernard Shaw, which poke fun at the dramatic concept of the soldiers. Answer: Arms and the Man. Arms and the Man is a comedy by Shaw in 1894, whose title comes from the opening words of Virgil Aeneid. Next question. An Irish poet who frequently used the symbol of moon, swan, Byzantium in his poems is W.B. Yeats. W.B. Yeats, one of the greatest English language poets of the 20th century. He received Nobel Prize for Literature in 1923. Moving to the next question. Dash was first English printer. Answer: William Caxton. Points to remember. The first book printed in English, The Requiem of the Histories of Troy, in 1473. Moving to the next question. Identify the English romantic poet Dash. At the age of 15, he was apprenticed to a surgeon. However, when his poetic bent was becoming apparent, surgery lost its sight attraction, and the career of a poet became a brighter possibility when he made the acquaintance of Leigh Hunt. Answer: John Keats. Next question. An extraordinary pamphlet entitled Dash caused Shelley to be expelled from Oxford is The Necessity of Atheism. The Necessity of Atheism, one of the earliest pamphlets on the subject to have been published in England. It argues that belief is not a voluntary act, since it is not regulated by reasons, and so it is a mistake to consider believers to be criminals. Sorry. Next question. An murmuring of innumerable bees is a line taken from A.L. Tennyson's poem which is a classical example of the princess onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia, a word that sounds like a noise it describes. Example, clap, gargle, cuckoo, etc. Next question. Identify the Victorian poet. The requirement of his office as poet laureate led him to the production of number of occasional poems which have caused him to be described contemptuously as the newspaper of his age, that is A.L. Tennyson. Next question. Arrange these work of Bernard Shaw chronologically. Answer option A. The Mrs. Warren's Profession is a play of 1893. The play is about a former prostitute, now a madam, who attempts to come to terms with her disapproving daughter. Second is The Caesar and Cleopatra, 1898, depicts a fictionalized account of the relationship between Julius Caesar and Cleopatra. Third, Major Barber is a three-act play by Shaw written and premiered in 1905 and first published in 1907. The story concerns an idealistic young woman, Barbara Undershaft, who is engaged in helping the poor as a major in the Salvation Army in London. Next question. T.S. Eliot and the Pygmalion was published in 1930, named after the Greek mythological figure. Moving to the next question. T.S. Eliot Wasteland is dedicated to Ezra Pound. The poem contains 433 lines, 5 parts poem dedicated to the fellow poet Ezra Pound, who helped condense the original manuscript to nearly half of its size. Moving to the next question. Identify the poem and the poet from these hints. Made a tremendous impact on the post-war generation, built around the symbol of drought and flood representing death and rebirth, though throughout appears a figure of traces, ends with a reference to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. The answer is T.S. Eliot Wasteland. Okay, next question. The Imagist was influenced by answer Japanese haiku. Answer Japanese haiku. Yes, the answer is Japanese haiku. Haiku is a short poem which has a pattern 575. Okay, next point. The poem of Tennyson, whose title echoes a story from Homer's Odyssey. The poem of Tennyson, whose title echoes a story from Homer's Odyssey, that is Lotus Eaters. Lotus Eaters is based on a portion of Homer's Odyssey in which Odysseus' men are fed lotus plants and become mesmerized by the land onto which they have stumbled. Next question. Dash is an extremely powerful novel written by D.H. Lawrence which studies with great insight the relationship between son and mother. Answer Son and Lovers. Next question. I am a monarch of all I survey. It is a line taken from the poem that shares the theme with one of these novels. Identify the novel, that is Robinson Crusoe. Points to remember. Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe in 1790. The themes self-reliance, civilization, progress, Christianity, and nature. Eric Arthur Blair is a renowned English novelist, essayist, and journalist whose work are marked by a strong opposition to totalitarianism. Is better known by his pen name George Orwell. Okay, next question. If I should die, think only this of me. A popular sonnet appears in several anthologies, was written by Rupert Brooke. The partly autobiographical work of Maggie and Tom Tulliver, written by George Eliot, which was considered by many of her best, The Mill of Force. And our last question, which is not a member of, who is not a member of Auden group? That is Edith Sitwell. Edith Sitwell. This Auden generation or Auden group is a group of British and Irish writers active in 1930s. The other members like W.H. Auden, Christopher Irishwood, Edward Upward, and Rex Warren. Okay, they are also called the 30s poets. So friends, thank you for listening, and please don't forget to like the button and subscribe our channel, and the final phase will be coming soon in the next class. Okay, thank you once again and study well.